So there is a secret that the forces of evil do not want you to know. And this is the truth of the hidden meaning behind money. What money really is, and more importantly, what money is not. So what it is it is a concept, a belief, a shared belief. And so in this much it's an organization of beliefs that we all share amongst us, and that we've been taught through our education system to believe is true. And this is that money is powerful, and so can bring to us the things we need and the things we desire. So we're taught to believe that money is real because it has a power to give us what we need and what we want. And this is the deception that we have been taught is true. Power must come from intelligence and must come from the living, and yet money, being just a concept or a symbol of power, is not the thing it points to. So in this way, money is like a picture of a mountain. It points to the mountain, it reflects the mountain, but it does not contain any of the majesty or the power that a mountain contains. And because it is not fixed in reality, but is just a concept and belief, it is constantly changing, and so it is forever fluctuating and changing its meaning to us and changing its value to us. And in this way it can be constantly manipulated by the forces that control it, and those forces are, as we know, banks and ultimately the government. So this is a circular lesson or a circular meaning, in as much as we need to also understand the meaning behind governments and the secret meaning that is kept hidden through the forces of evil. So to understand the reality of money, we must first look at reality. If something is real, it can only be but itself. It cannot be something else. Yet money seems to have this power that it can be something else. So a paper note transforms into a house or a car or an orange or anything else a piece of clothing, anything else we desire. But the truth is, the paper note can only ever be what it is. The digital mark on a computer can only ever be a digital mark on the computer. A metal coin can only ever be what it is, a metal coin. And so a metal coin can never be a house or a car or a piece of clothing or a piece of food. And because money is just a concept and a belief, its form can change. In the past, money was were shells or other objects that were found in nature, and at some point it became gold and silver and metals, and later on it became coins and paper notes, and in our modern day it has become an electronic digital mark on a software program. So actually money is formless because it doesn't have a reality of its own. It is just a belief, and so it can become anything we want it to be. Yet we've been taught that money is powerful, and so the whole world is chasing money to try and gain some kind of security for ourselves, so that we can buy a house and buy a car and buy the clothes and buy our food and so that we can find safety in a world that is rather abstract. We don't understand the world, we don't understand the reality of the world, and so money has become a symbol of this power. So the secret, which is really being kept hidden, is how does money go from being paper note or a coin or a digital mark on a computer, and how does it end up being a house or a car or a piece of food? Well, the truth is it doesn't. It doesn't do that. It is impossible for a paper note to be a house or a car. And so we must look deeper into what is manifesting these items for us, because we've been told it is money and the money is the source of this power. But money is not the source of this power. This power comes from something else. And if we can learn about that something else, we can bypass money and all the laws and the rules that regulate money, and we can free ourselves from a cycle of forever chasing something which is illusionary, forever chasing something which is not real. And therefore, because it's not real, we can never find it. And so all the things that do come to us through money, eventually we lose them, because they become worthless to us, because the value of money is worthless. There is no value in money. Yet when we recognize the true power of manifestation and where that belongs, then those things that come to us that we ask for, they maintain their value, they maintain their appreciation for us, and we become much more filled with gratitude. We become much more joyous because of the things that have come to us, that we haven't had to sacrifice our lives for, that we haven't had to work for, that we haven't had to pay taxes for. So evil wants to deceive, because that is the meaning of evil, is deception. So evil wants to deceive us into believing that money has power, and yet it doesn't have power. It is just a paper note. It is just a digital mark. It doesn't have the power to manifest. It doesn't have the power to give us the things we need. That all comes from another source. And this is part of our waking up process, is that we remember who we are and we regain the power that is within us. And that it is this power, which is a godly power, which is a power of creation, which comes from the mind of a creator God, a loving God that gives, that doesn't take away. And so when we come to recognize who we are, we begin to recognize that all things are given to us and that we don't need money. We don't need to follow the laws and the rules of this world to have the things we need and the things we desire. To the forces of evil, money is powerful, because evil is powerless, being outside of heaven and outside the mind of God. And so it is always seeking power. And so this is why governments are always seeking power in the form of taxes, which is the money they extract from the people by force, by the threat of torture, imprisonment and fines, both forms of torture, and by extracting by force money, this illusionary power, governments are able to maintain their own power. And so they educate us. They have an education system in place that educates us to believe that we need money to survive in this world and to thrive in this world. But this is simply not true. So a mind in separation from God, or a mind in separation from truth, outside of reality, does see insanely. And so evil is really nothing but insane thoughts about ourselves. And even so, the evil forces in this world would have us believe that we need money, yet the deception can clearly be seen once we start looking with honesty and open eyes at what is actually taking place. We have lives filled with objects that none of us have made, none of us created. We have homes filled with many, many things. We have cars that are complex instruments, complex tools. We have computers, we have food, we have clothing. None of us have made any of these things, and yet our lives and our homes are filled with these objects. And we've been taught to believe that it's all come through money, but this is the deception. None of it has come through money, because money cannot be what it is not. Money cannot be something else. So this that is creating these things that we want and desire is a creative force, a power that resides within us, and it resides all around us. We are surrounded by this power. It is the beingness of who we are, and the beingness that is creation, that is the universe. So we've been taught through an education system that we must work for money and we must sacrifice our lives for money, because this is the goal of evil. It wants to deceive us into sacrificing our life for what is dead. Now, power must come from where life is, not from what is dead, because what is dead is powerless. And so the power to manifest and the power to create must come from life. But money is not living. It is not a living thing, and nor are governments living things. They are just beliefs, and a belief is not a living thing, and because of that it has no reality of its own. And yet we are taught that we need money to buy and do the things we want to do, because by this belief we are empowering evil to maintain its own illusionary life, its own illusionary beingness. And so it needs our power in the form of sacrifice, in the form of giving up our own freedom and our own life to become a slave to money and chasing what is always beyond our reach. And because of that, we are always in a place of need and in a place of desperation and in a place of fear and anxiety. And those who lack money know exactly what I'm saying, that it is a place of weakness, it is a place of powerlessness, and it brings up fear and anxiety for everyone who feels powerless and feels weak. And this is the goal of evil, and this is why governments maintain the laws that control us, to manipulate us into believing that we are weak and that we are powerless. You see, the function of the world is to give us what we want and to give us what we believe about ourselves. And so the world only gives. The universe, being blessed by the mind of God, only gives. And so it gives whatever we want, whatever we believe. So if we believe we need money, then that is what it will give. It will give us the witnesses that prove to us that money is necessary. And so we will have to work for money, and we will have to sacrifice our lives for money. We will have to become slaves to money and slaves to the systems that control money and the organizations like governments and banks that control money. Yet the power to create is within us, and to understand through knowledge who we are, to remember who we are, realigns our minds with the mind of God, or with the mind, a universal mind, a loving mind, the mind that is joined with all things. Everyone is part of this oneness, this one mind. And so there is no taking away. Once we understand who we are, there is just a giving. But in the world of money, and in the world of governments, in the world of deception, and in the world of evil, there is only taking away. When we think we're earning money, when we think we're making money, we're actually not. We're just taking money from somebody else. So somebody else must lose that we must gain. And because there are less winners than there are losers, many people lose at the expense of one person's gain. For one person to win, everyone else must lose. And this is how the money system is. It is a winner-loser situation. It is an organization that perpetuates loss, and perpetuates weakness, and perpetuates fear. Yet when you learn of who you are, and you start to ask for what you want and what you need directly to the source of the power of manifestation, then everything comes to you that you require, and you haven't had to sacrifice your life for it. You haven't had to give up your freedom. And this brings gratitude into your mind. It brings gratitude and light, because for now, what happens is you start to receive the knowledge that you are an abundant and powerful being, and that the world, the function of the world, is to give you what you ask for. And so you ask not to take away from anybody, but only to give and only to add. So there is no loss involved, there is no sacrifice involved for anyone. You see, the world is miraculous because the mind of God is miraculous, and we are part of that oneness, we are part of that mind, and therefore we are miraculous beings. And when we are aligned with our true nature, then everything comes to us miraculously. It does not come through sacrifice. The mind of God does not ask for sacrifice. The mind of God only gives love. The mind of God does not take away. We have also been educated and taught to believe that God is a vengeful God, is a hateful God, is a fearing God, a God that we must fear. And this is simply not true. And this is why we have these organizations like governments that represent our beliefs in God, that our Creator is fearful, our Creator is something to be afraid of, that requires sacrifice, and that loves but only to take away, that loves only but to kill, that loves only but to condemn. Yet all this is false. And all of this has been taught to us. And so we must undo these beliefs by looking more honestly at our world and more truthfully looking within ourselves and discovering the meanings within ourselves of our own reality. You see, in this world we were born in a state of forgetfulness, like when we dream at night, when we fall asleep, we are in a state of forgetfulness. And so the world is very much like a dream. It's an illusionary state. And yet in this forgetfulness, we've had to learn everything about the world from the beginning, from nothingness. So we've taught ourselves everything we think we know, and everything that we think is true, we have but taught to ourselves. But because we did it from a place of not knowing, it does not necessarily mean that what we've taught ourselves is true and is real and is correct. So the process that the world is going through at the moment is a reawakening process, where the deceptions and the lies that we are all part of, and we've all taught to ourselves, and we taught to each other, all of this is being undone by a power that is realigning our minds with the power of a divine creator, a divine God, a loving creator. Whereas the false authority, and government is a false authority, only creates fear, because being a false authority that exists outside the mind of God, fear is its natural state of being. So governments create fear and create all the manifestations of fear, which is war and terror and hatred and poverty and loss. But the mind of holiness is an abundant mind. It is a giving mind. It is a loving mind. And this is our true nature, and this is what brings to us all the things that we ask for. We think it's money that is doing this, but that's just because we've been taught that it's money. But this is the illusion. Money cannot do what is happening. What is happening is miraculous. What is happening is coming from a power that is far beyond our ability to comprehend at this moment. So the world is abstract. The world is abstract, and so we can't understand it at the moment. And so it does seem like money is bringing these things to us. But that is the deception, and that is the untruth that needs to be undone. So the secret is that we don't need money to have the things that we desire and the things that we need. We don't need money to do the things that we want to do. And so, to understand this, we must look within ourselves deeper and see who we are, and see that once we understand who we are, we will understand what the world is. And that is an awakening process. For the world is going through an awakening process at this present time, where we have created a nightmare for ourselves, which is disharmonious and which is unloving. And this is being undone now because of who we are, because we are the children, the sons and daughters of a loving creator. This is being undone now for us, because we cannot undo it ourselves because we are lost within the dream. And we believe the dream is real. We believe everything the world is showing to us is real. And so all of this is being undone by a process of inner questioning, which leads us to the realization of our divine nature, our holiness, our loving nature, and the loving nature of a divine and beautiful universe. So to believe, to take our belief away from money and give it to something which is at present abstract is our challenge, is what we are challenged with at the moment. Because you cannot believe something that you cannot see. So we have to see to believe, because belief and sight are synonymous. And so what we have to do is go inside and see who we are, and then that will create the belief that will bring about the change that we are asking for. And it is this inner seeing which then reflects out into our outer world, because everything we see in our outer world is but a reflection of our inner world. And so once we've seen who we are, abundance flows to us naturally in all its forms, in all the forms that we ask for. One of the functions of suffering, and people are suffering at the moment, they're suffering with fear and loss and confusion. And one of the functions of suffering is to wake us up, is to bring an end to the dream of an illusion. And so the world at the moment is in a state of darkness, where we are having to look deeper within ourselves to find the truth of who we are, so that we can transcend the illusions and the deception of this world that we have been part of the creation of. We are not separate from that. We are all responsible for our part in the deception. And so even those who are in governments, and those who are politicians, those who are bankers, those who are in the money system, all of us, we've all been deceived. We've all been deceived by evil. And evil is not a person, is not a thing. Evil is a belief system that is simply not true, that is created in separation, outside of the mind of God, which is an impossibility, but we are the children with the power of God, and we have somehow created the impossible. And this is what we're experiencing. You see, once we stop asking for the dream to be true and for illusions to be true, and we start asking for reality to be true, we will begin to undo the deceptions that the nightmare has become. All the time we keep asking for dreams to be true, and for illusions to be true. We are really asking for more suffering, only because we think reality isn't good enough. But reality is perfect, and we are part of reality. That is our essence, that is the core of our being. And so we have to bring our minds back into alignment with reality, and understand that reality is perfect and is beautiful and is abundant. The only reason we ask for dreams to be true is because we think reality is not good enough, and the world is always teaching us to follow our dreams and make our dreams come true. Yet, who would ask for a dream to be true unless they believed reality was not good enough? because the world is a dream state and the world is full of illusions, only when we start asking for the truth to be true and not for illusions to be true, not for dreams to be true, only when we ask for the truth to be true and we do not accept anything but this, only then do we begin the process of waking up. Everyone in this world has their own truth, believes they have their own truth, and this is only possible because we are all within an illusion. Reality has only one truth, and reality and truth must be together. Where truth is, there must be reality. Where reality is, that must be where truth is found. And yet in this world, everyone has their own truth, because we are living in a realm which is outside of reality. We're living in a realm which is an illusion. And money is part of this illusion, and governments are part of this illusion, and the banking system is part of this illusion, and it's all part of the deception that keeps us in fear and keeps us living in terror and afraid of each other and fearing each other and even hating each other. It keeps us suffering. So by going inside yourself and seeing who you are, you realize your greatness and the greatness of creation and the power of creation that manifests through you. And this is a source of great joy, for this is the release from a hellish state, from a state of forgetfulness back into a state of remembrance. And therefore everything comes to us effortlessly. We don't have to be slaves. We don't have to sacrifice ourselves for the simple things that we need to survive. We have these bodies that require shelter, they require heat, they require clothes, they require food, and we want to enjoy ourselves in this world. And all of these things come to us effortlessly once we've seen inside ourselves who we are and what we're a part of. Because in that seeing, there is an alignment of our wills with the will of creation, and therefore everything comes to us easily, without sacrifice, without loss of any kind. Yet money is the symbol of a false power, and so it brings only loss, it brings only sacrifice. So by looking inside yourself, you bring back an ancient memory of who you are. And it's like when you are dreaming at night, when you sleep, if you was to remember who you are in reality, whilst you are dreaming, it would have the power to completely transform your dream. So if you are in a hellish dream, a dream of fear, by remembering that you are not the dreamer within the dream, but you are actually the dreamer that is outside of the dream, and that the dream is happening within you, then that has the power to transform all the hellish thoughts within the dream. All the nightmares will disappear, because you will no longer be at the mercy of a force that is outside yourself. You will realize that you are that force, you are that power, and that you are beyond the illusionary identity of the dreamer in the dream, of the identity being dreamed, and that you are actually the one who is dreaming. And then once you've come to this state of awareness, then the whole world will transform, and the power of deception will have lost its power, and you will not be deceived by what is not true anymore. And the more consistently that we apply the ancient memory of who we are to everything that comes to us within this world, the quicker the awakening happens.